Chapter 11. Marcus made his way back to his home. The tears streamed down his face as he made the last few turns. This was his and Ellie's dream home, the place where they were going to grow old together. Ellie used to work for an estate agent. One of the questions she used to ask people was, "Is this the one?" And for them, this was the one. He stopped as he pulled into their street and looked left and right. The neighbours to the left were both professionals, and by the look of things were still out at work. If he pulled his car all the way forward onto his drive, then he could use the 20-foot hedge at the front of the garden to shield his vehicle from the rest of the street. Marcus had always hated that hedge, vowing to cut it down one weekend when he had the time. He never had the time. Now he was thankful for the busy life that took his weekends in directions other than cutting down hedges. It would give him the gift of time. He drove slowly, as though this careful driving would make him and his car invisible. Once pulled up as close as he could to the garage, he looked to the neighbour's house to the left, confirming his suspicion that they would still be at work. It was one of the reasons the dream house was a dream. The neighbours were quiet and predictable. It made life peaceful for Marcus, Ellie, and the kids. Getting out of the car and closing the door as quietly as he could, Marcus looked through the window to ensure that the police weren't still at the scene. At first, he felt that this was the place he needed to avoid the most, but thinking about it, he knew that the police would have taken Ellie's body, secured the property, and not let the kids go there. All of this meant that he could get in to make his search. The lock on the front door had been changed. The police had to secure the place. Marcus knew that. But what the police didn't know was that the mechanism on the window at the side of the property had been broken for a few months. Another outstanding chore that Marcus hadn't found the time for. Another piece of fortune when he needed it most. Quickly through the window, Marcus walked along on his haunches, not wanting to be seen by anyone outside the confines of his home. He walked past the kitchen door and had to look. The blood still hadn't been cleared up, smelling foul as it congealed on the floor, the worktops, and the sink. Marcus sobbed as he huddled into a fetal position, looking at the exact spot on the floor where his beautiful wife had been slain. Marcus laid there for a full 20 minutes, crying into his forearms as he rocked slowly backwards and forwards, trying to soothe himself. The rocking slowed. Marcus regained his consciousness of the world outside of his body, and he looked towards the front door. The porch was glass from waist height upwards, so he would have to stay low in order to get what he wanted from there without being seen. Marcus crawled his way along before grabbing the door between the porch and the rest of the house. It marked the boundary where the house used to end. The previous occupants had it added to the home. To Marcus, it made total sense. Who wanted muddy shoes along the hallway? Keep them in the porch. He slid along the cold tiled floor, awakening his sense that had been dulled in his fetal ball. He grabbed at the boxes piled up in the corner of the porch and threw them one by one into the hallway behind him. Once the last parcel was behind him, Marcus slid back and closed the door between the main house and the porch. In the sanctuary of the hallway, he could sit on the stairs and open these parcels one by one without anyone from outside the home being able to see him. The first few were the same kind of rubbish that he'd opened first thing that morning. The first was a deck of playing cards, where all the royal family was replaced by Ozzy Osbourne and his family. Sharon was an especially ferocious queen. The next parcel was a kind of corkscrew device used to remove earwax. Marcus winced as he pictured that entering his ear. He laughed at the side of the packaging that stated dishwasher-proof, as if you'd be putting that in there with all the dishes. He kept opening parcels, leaving a pile of empty boxes behind him. As he opened the box, he piled up the receipts one by one onto a pile on the stairs next to him. There were only 3 left now. Marcus was going to choose the one in the middle, imagining himself ripping away at the cardboard with fingers that were now growing tired at the constant tearing apart of glued cardboard. He stretched his frame, pondering if he would find what he was looking for. As he did, a car drove past. Marcus dropped to the floor. He wondered if the neighbours were home.